Hey everyone, today I'm going to take a look at comparison between some credit card payment processors, mainly Visa, Mastercard, and American Express. These three companies are the dominant players in the space, but there is a slight difference between American Express and Visa and Mastercard. Visa and Mastercard's primary business model is payment processing. It doesn't issue credit cards itself, it just acts as the middleman and processes the transaction. The business or bank that issues the credit card is the one that lends the money and holds on to the debt. American Express, on the other hand, does both. You have some third parties issuing American Express credit cards, but they also issue their cards themselves. Therefore, American Express not only makes money from processing the transaction, it can also make money from the interest from the debt. So keep this in mind when we are looking over their numbers, as American Express versus Visa and Mastercard won't be an apple-to-apple comparison. First, as a disclaimer, I just want to say I'm not a financial advisor, so please do your own due diligence before investing. Earlier, I mentioned the difference between American Express and Visa and Mastercard. Right off the bat, you'll notice a difference in their debt, which is not abnormal since American Express also acts as the lender, where Visa and Mastercard mainly focuses on processing the transaction instead. And by no means is Visa or Mastercard cheap when we are looking at their trailing PE ratio of 35 and 44. But American Express has a trailing PE ratio around 15, which is much more attractive. Their payout ratio is roughly around the same level in the low 20s, but because Visa and Mastercard has a much higher premium to their stock price, their yield is very low at around 0.5%, where American Express is much higher at around 1.4%. When we take a look at their yearly revenue, you'll notice that American Express's revenue is much higher than Visa and Mastercard, and again, that's because their loans are also factored in. But the most important thing to take away from this is that they are all trending upwards, so we know that they are all still growing. One more thing I want to point out is just how steady and solid the revenue growth of Visa and Mastercard is. You don't see any spikes up or down, it's just very consistent. When we take a look at their EPS or earnings per share, we notice a similar trend upwards. But American Express's EPS has spiked around much more than Visa and Mastercard, and those drop in EPS coincides with their drop in revenue. They just don't seem to be as consistent as Visa and Mastercard. When we're taking a look at the number of outstanding shares, I love the chart. They have all been buying back their shares, and by buying back their shares, they can further increase their EPS, and with a higher EPS, it leaves them with more room to increase their dividends. And they all have been growing their dividends a lot the last decade. As of now, their yield may be very low, but over the next decade, who knows how high their dividend could be by then. Visa and Mastercard has been growing their dividends around 20% annually, and if they keep this up a decade from now, if you buy at these prices, your yield on cost could be around 3 to 4%. For consistency, just take a look at American Express and their dividend growth at around 10% annually for the past 15 years. Their dividend growth has been very consistent for the past 3 decades. When we take a look at their stock performance, by far Visa and Mastercard has outperformed American Express. In the past 5 years, this is where we really notice a divergence between American Express and Visa and Mastercard. What's amazing is when we take a look at their annualized return. Visa and Mastercard has an annualized return of over 20% annually for the past decade, and has really outperformed. American Express, on the other hand, has an annualized return of around 10% for well over 4 decades. A 10% annual return is still great, but when compared to Visa and Mastercard's annualized return, it kind of pales in comparison. But we do notice a big spike up this year, and we'll see if American Express can catch up to Visa and Mastercard. But overall, in my personal opinion, which one do I like? Right off the bat, I think all three are great companies, and with a long-term horizon, I think they will all be winners. Even though their dividend yield is very low as of now, over time I believe they will grow their dividends massively over the years. With them consistently buying back their shares and growing their business, they've had plenty of room to grow their dividends over the years. But if I had to pick one as of now, I think I would prefer American Express because it's more of a value play since it's cheaper compared to Visa and Mastercard. American Express has a trailing PE ratio of 15 compared to Visa and Mastercard's trailing PE ratio of 35 and 44. Also, because it's cheaper, its yield is also much higher at around 1.4% compared to Visa and Mastercard's 0.5%. But these are just my own personal opinions. I'm not a financial advisor, so please do your own due diligence before investing. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, please like and share the video. I really appreciate it because making these videos takes a lot of time to do the research on these companies, and it really helps out the channel. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please make sure to smash the subscribe button, and thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.